Good day, South Africa, and welcome to another episode of the Agri5 Transformation Show. The Agri5 Transformation Show seeks to showcase opportunities within the agricultural sector and other key sectors in the South African economy. Furthermore, it will highlight the lack of transformation South Africa has not achieved within the democracy approaching 3 decades. The program seeks to assist SMMEs to gain insight and understanding in regards to the challenges they face and how they can source funding, mentorship, and other forms of business assistance from key roles players in the sector. Joined in our studios today, I have Ntate Joe Mazibuko from the Joburg market. Ntate Mazibuko, welcome and thank you for coming.
Sure, thank you very much and thank you for the invite as well.
Lovely. Ntate Mazibuko, can you please tell us about the Joburg market, fresh produce, your role in the agricultural sector? When was the organization established?
Sure.
Also, please just provide us with any information that the viewers might want to know in regards to the market.
Sure. The Joburg market was established late in the 18th century after the discovery of gold and the gold rush in the Witwatersrand. And since then, I think it has actually grown to what it is. Today, the Joburg market is the biggest fresh produce market in not only the country, but in Africa as well. And we're one of 22 markets, national fresh produce markets, and we currently command about 45% market share in terms of produce that's sold and money that's generated through the sale of produce. We are situated at City Deep, just on the south of Johannesburg, and I think we are an 8 billion rand business, turnover per year, and we sell in excess of about 1.45 million tons of fresh produce per year. So in relative terms, I think we're actually quite big.
Yeah.
And we are actually a dominant player. In terms of where we are in the value chain, I think we're largely in the selling and distribution of fresh produce. So if you want something good, in terms of quality, in terms of quantity, and in terms of consistency, always the Joburg market is actually the better place to go to.
Lovely. So tell us, what is the current state percentage of black-owned agencies that are trading with your market?
Sure.
And what is your marketing department obviously doing to ensure that we could obviously work towards a progressive market?
Sure. I think as the Joburg market, we actually embarked, in the past 5 to 10 years on quite an aggressive, drive to transform specifically the market agency component of the value chain within the Joburg market. We currently have got 18 market agencies that are currently selling their produce at the Joburg market. And 10 of those are actually African.
Wow.
So what it actually means is that we have actually gone some way in terms of transformation. Now, in the transformed market agencies, I think you've got two types. One, those that would be 100% black-owned, and two, those that would actually have diluted shareholding.
Yes.
Of the 10 that I've actually spoken to you about, 8 are purely black-owned, which is actually quite a good development. But in the recent past, 2 of our big agencies partnered or had equity procured by black entities, which literally then transformed them into black agencies. But in terms of the classical definition, we've actually got 10 out of the 18 that are currently in the market.
That's very progressive, and that you've achieved in the last 10 years.
Yeah, it's been achieved in the last 10 years. However, the biggest challenge is not only that we get them to be there, but to get them to grow.
Of course.
As a market agency, I think one of the key things you actually need to make sure happens is that you need to go out there, establish contracts with farmers who could actually supply you with produce. Now, most of your commercial farmers who actually possibly account for about 80 to 85% of what we sell tend to prefer established market agencies, because there's century-old relationships between families. And you find that a lot of your average market agencies actually battle, to actually crack it out there in terms of the amount of produce that is supposed to come through their floors and be sold. But I think as part of hand-holding, if we do have excursions to visit farms, we normally would take some of your black agencies and expose them to some of the commercial farmers. What we're trying to do is actually to get some of your big commercial farmers to at least reserve a percentage of what they bring to the Joburg market for market agencies. We've been successful in some areas and not so successful in others.
Yes.
But I think the issue of transformation is work in progress, and my take is that we need to partner, all of us, and drive these things deliberately. Both the public sector and the private sector, all in unison, and the key players within the agricultural space, holding hand and believing and driving these initiatives.
No, I'm very impressed with the achievements that the market has made to date. So, Tate Mazibuko, emerging farmers typically face numerous challenges which they cannot avoid or change, as farming is a process, and some of these challenges they face is production yields that tend to be low, post-harvest risks that are high, inconsistency of quality, low volume, spillage, cost of transport and storage, leading to barriers to access to markets, because whenever you engage a fresh produce market like the Joburg market, there are criteria that you would need to meet. We are fully aware that some of these challenges we have informed are not directly from the fresh produce market's responsibility. But at the end, you must address and deal with them via the agent. What has been done to neutralize these barriers and assist black farmers?
I think as the Joburg market, literally, if you look at the total value chain, we actually play within the marketing of the produce. So we're not in the production level, where at the farm level where we can actually influence that. But what we can actually influence in terms of those barriers are things such as market access. Okay, market access is actually quite an important component, because as an emerging black farmer, you actually need to come to the Joburg market and be registered as one of the producers. And if you do, we actually link you up with one of the market agencies, and specifically black agencies, because we actually want to assist them to actually grow. So in terms of market access, I think the first thing that we do is we encourage emerging farmers to come to the Joburg market, be registered. We'll link you up with market agencies. And the role really of market agencies is not just to accept goods, but they also work in tandem with the producers to actually assist them with the planning, to assist them with what is actually current, and selling at the market. And over time, I think they actually build relationships. So market access is one. The second aspect that we look at as the Joburg market is training and development. We partner with industry to expose market or farmers rather, emerging specifically, to particular training that's actually relevant. It includes things like, for instance, management skills. You would actually take it for granted, but people actually need to be exposed to specific training programs, which are actually very, very, very key. So we do that. The third critical thing, I think, role that we play is to teach emerging farmers who actually link up with us in terms of compliance to food standard, food safety requirements, packaging of produce, because believe it or not, how you actually package your goods has got a very big role to play in terms of appealing to customers who actually buy at the market. So we actually just make sure that not only do they comply to the packaging requirements as outlined in the law, but also that they actually start to look at designing packaging that's actually appealing to buyers. I think the fourth thing possibly that one can talk to is we are in the process of building a pack house at the Joburg market. And that came about as a realization from management that most of your emerging black farmers do not have a place where they actually store these goods, where they package these goods. So we actually want to create a facility that would actually cater for site requirements specifically, because I think it is actually important that we actually meet them halfway, But also an area where we're actually starting to engage players in the market is how do we actually assist emerging farmers specifically to actually start looking at assisting with logistical support. Most farmers, may not have the distribution or logistic capacity or capabilities to bring their produce to the Joburg market. So one of the things we're actually looking at is collaborating with industry players to actually do exactly that. But at a practical level, how do we do that? In some of the areas, for instance, we would actually speak with commercial farmers who's got space in their trucks coming to the Joburg market to actually make provision for some of your emerging farmers to be able to do that. So there's a myriad of issues that as the Joburg market we've got significant impact on. But there's also those that we can't impact. For instance, there's element around accessibility to land. When you start to talk about emerging farmers and accessibility to land and quality of land that they have for the produce, you actually do realize that it's actually a big gap. So government, both national and provincial, I think need to play a significant role to assist emerging farmers to access land that's arable, so that they can actually contribute to the well-being of and the growth of the agricultural space. I think the second thing that challenges, which is a barrier for a lot of emerging farmers, is access to finance. It is important that I think farmers, or specifically emerging farmers, acquaint themselves with opportunities that government make available for funding, specifically around the agricultural space. And if they do, I think we've got the Land Bank, amongst others, that could actually assist. But there are other institutions as well that are there that emerging farmers need to look at. I think the third thing possibly that I can talk to is that both national and provincial governments normally provide extension services, advisory services for emerging farmers. They actually need to go in there and actually exploit, those opportunities, because I think they could actually be assisted to be better in terms of what they actually, could gain as information. But there's also, I think, the view, which is possibly the fourth thing as well, the view that government needs to play quite a significant role in terms of assisting emerging farmers, specifically with technologies and equipment to actually farm, because some of our emerging farmers don't have the capacity nor the capabilities to actually have that. If you assist them with those, you literally make the burden a lot easier, you know.
Okay.
And for me, I know I've been broad, but these are actually some of the key things that I believe should actually be, done bothly by us as the Joburg market, by government, by the private sector as well. So it's a myriad of issues that I've actually raised.
Yeah, these are very important points that you mentioned. I think they inform us of where we are,
Sure.
and they kind of guide us as to what direction we should take as a collective.
Sure.
So it's really highly appreciated. And the next question, Dr. Mazubuko, is what is the steps for a company to take for them to be an agent at Joburg Market? What is the criteria?
Sure.
What is the process?
Okay. It's actually quite a heavily legislated process, because as a market agent, you actually need to deal with money belonging to farmers. So you actually need to register. We've got an organization national called the Agricultural Produce Agents Council.
APAC.
Yeah. You actually need to register with APAC as an agent. And for you to register with APAC as an agent, I think there's a number of things that they are looking at, and maybe not really being exhaustive, but you actually need to have a registered company. That company need to have financial statements. You need to have an auditor, you need to have a BE certificate, amongst others. And you also need to have a business plan that actually indicates how you actually plan to grow the business. Things that we spoke about, for instance, going out there, have agreements with farmers who are actually going to supply you with the produce that you require. But more than that, you actually also need to make sure that you link up with established market agencies where you could actually be exposed to mentoring and coaching for a certain duration. Then you need to apply to the Joburg market once you've actually got all of those, a business plan, proof of farmers that you have, registration, documentation to trade at the Joburg market. Now, for us at the moment, it's we've got limited space and a lot more demands. We are actually in the future looking at expanding the capacity at Joburg market by an additional 30-40% to grow what we currently have. And the view is that we would actually be dedicating a greater part of that for emerging market agents. But over and above that, I think if you go to APAC, it is advisable that you actually go through the training. It's an online training program that you need to follow. They would actually provide you with all the details that you actually require to be able to start trading. But more than that, I think you actually need to open a trust account, because when the farmer has brought the produce to the Joburg market and it's actually sold, you cannot take that money and put it in a private account.
Okay.
It actually goes into a trust account. So making sure that there's actually a trust account that you would actually be using is part of the requirements. But I think for those that are very keen in terms of knowing what is actually required, there's two components. I think the part in the Joburg market comes a bit later, but the initial part is that you need to register with APAC. Go to their website, look at what their requirements are, and talk to some of the agents within that environment. They'll actually specify and guide you in terms of what you actually require. So it's actually quite an involved process, and precisely because you deal with people's monies, it's actually heavily legislated. In the event that any of your market agents do not comply to legislation, both APAC and the Joburg market will withdraw your trading license, which then creates a problem for most of your emerging farmers.
Yeah, when I was doing some research, I saw there's some court cases between APAC and some other agencies because of non-compliance. Yeah,
and even if you actually go to their website, you'll actually realize that there's actually quite a big number. Particularly, things such as not submitting your financial statements. not accounting, for money that's in the trust, not doing reconciliation, or specifically violating some of the rules that are actually laid out. For instance, farmers or market agents at the Joburg market are not allowed to exchange money directly in the trading halls.
Yes.
But you actually do find people who actually want to bypass the process, and that in itself is a violation of the legal precepts. And if found, you are actually then exposed to a disciplinary action, which might result in you having your trading license withdrawn.
I can imagine, because it's precisely there to monitor the process.
No, exactly. And like in anything else, it's actually possibly a few rotten, apples that spoils the broth. But I think by and large, we've got quite a huge contingent of people that are actually complying to legislation, and which is why they actually continue to trade. If found guilty and your trading license is withdrawn, you cannot operate in the Republic anywhere, without that particular license. So that in itself tend to force people to focus specifically on compliance.
Lovely.
So self-regulation seems to be working a lot more than anything else.
Lovely. And then please tell us more about the Mandela People's Market. Can it be used, or is it used for black farmers' produce? What does it entail?
Yeah, I think the People's Market specifically is geared towards assisting black traders, not market agents. Black traders. Remember, as the market, we actually a channel through which produce must actually be sold. So traders at the People's Market buy from our trading floor,
okay,
but then repackage, because these are largely your aggregators and your agro-processors. They actually buy in bulk, aggregate, because some people don't want a 10 kilogram bag of potatoes. They actually want 1 kilogram.
Yes.
So they would actually take that, repackage, such that people can actually buy in the required smaller quantities, rather than in the trading halls where you actually buy in high volumes. So the issue was to actually cater for not only the market agents in terms of transformation, but cater for black traders specifically, because most of your white traders would have your green grocers, would have links with particular shops and be able to do the agro-processing. But for your black traders, we mostly find hawkers and people really without the means. So in order to assist them, we actually established, the People's Market, where they can actually buy in bulk and be able to sell directly to the public. So that is actually between them and the public, but then we make sure that the produce that they sell at the Joburg market is procured from our floors, one, and secondly, that it complies to the legislative requirements.
Lovely. I think it's exciting. I think for me, what has been exciting is the progress that the Joburg market fresh produce has made. It really gives us the hope that we need, that at the rate that they are going, we will truly complete the transformation process that we want to achieve. People that are tuning in, how can they obviously get a hold of the market, to engage the market and find out more about your offerings?
Sure. I think the safest way is actually to go to our website. I think it's www.joburgmarket.co.za. From there, they could actually go to specific links that would actually then direct them to contacting the Joburg market specifically. But those that would want to have a direct line, 011 992 8000, you will actually come through to our switchboard, who would actually then direct you to the right person who could actually then assist you in either registering as a buyer or registering as a farmer or registering as a trader. All of those, I think, you can access us through those two channels.
Yeah. And one thing I found out very late is that Joburg market, like Ntate Mazubuko said, they cater for the whole South African region. It's not only for Gauteng or Joburg, but it's for it caters for farmers on a national scale.
Sure.
Yeah.
In fact, if you actually look at who our customer base is, we've got quite a significant contingent of customers from the SADC region who actually buy daily from the Joburg market. But other than that, I think you get people traveling from as far as Durban, East London, even Cape Town to come and procure the Joburg market. And the reason for that is simple. It's because we're actually the biggest. We guarantee the best quality. We guarantee the best quantities. The variety that we have there is actually the biggest. And I think consistency as well in terms of supply. People know that we're a one-stop shop and they can actually come through there and get everything that they actually require. Also, an added advantage, I think, for the Joburg market is that we've got a number of other support businesses which services a lot of your spaza shops in terms of produce that they not only produce but non-fresh produce that they actually sell. And it therefore becomes quite an ideal area where you can come once and get almost everything that you actually require as a shop owner, to buy and sell to your clients.
No. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you for being part of the show.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you very much.